Welcome, everybody, to It Tastes Different Gaming Appetizers. And we're going to talk about something tonight that's going to make Raphael, Michelangelo, and Donatello sad. PlayStation announces Project Leonardo, an accessibility controller kit for the PS5. So the other turtles are jealous that Leonardo got picked for this type of technology. I really thought this would be a Donatello type technology, but, leave it to Leo to get all the credit. So, Project Leonardo, as much as we're joking around here, is an accessibility controller kit that is in development for PlayStation 5, and its code name is Project Leonardo, as we said. It was revealed at CES this year, 2023, and there's some more details on the PlayStation blog site. It's pretty interesting looking controller. It's pretty large looking. It looks like it's going to have a lot of easy use for the people with different disabilities. Sony is saying that the new controller was developed with contributions from accessibility experts, community members, and game developers. So it includes a kit of swappable components and a variety of analog stick caps and buttons in different shapes and sizes. So, it sounds like they're doing their due diligence and they're going to come up with something that's going to be usable just about anybody that has ability to move some part of their appendages and things like that. So, our whole philosophy on gaming and what we really believe in is gaming is for everybody. And this is being disabled is no exception. Everybody should be able to enjoy gaming if they want to. And this is just another move in the right direction for Sony. There's no prices, no release dates or anything like that given right now. It's just being touted as a highly customizable controller that's a really good thing to hear. Any type of accessibility or access to games for people who predominantly have been locked out due to handicaps or any type of other disability, this is going to just be more for them. More ability for them to get in and play the games that they want to play. Like, I love video games, but I could not imagine not being able to play them. I can't watch somebody play a video game and enjoy that. That's not enjoyable for me. Maybe if I was at a disability where I couldn't play video games, that may be a different story. I don't know. Somebody that's got a disability that prevents them from playing video games is going to have to let me know, is watching video games enjoyable? Is it memorable is the real thing, right? Like, some of my favorite games are memorable. Like, I will remember Horizon Zero Dawn for the entirety of my life because it's one of my favorite games. I will remember Mass Effect because it's one of my favorite games. But would I remember those games if I didn't get to actually physically play them? Probably not, to be honest with you. Watching a lot of movies and stuff, I remember them, but I don't remember them in the detail that I remember, like, my favorite games and parts of my favorite games that I liked. So, having the PlayStation developing more of an accessibility controller is awesome. Maybe this spells a new wave for the future, that every next gen console or every console that's going to come out between Microsoft and PlayStation in the future is going to have is going to have one of these controllers. So an accessibility controller for their consoles when they come out, which is needed in my opinion. I've seen lots of stuff on YouTube, which I'm sure you guys have too, of people that have disabilities of certain types working with developers to design their own cool controller. That they may not have full use of their fingers to the full extent, but they've got controllers to where they can, instead of like pulling a trigger or something, they're pushing on something with a hand or an arm or doing something that is a natural or comfortable movement for them that they can play prolonged. So more movement in the right direction and things like that. So we're going to kind of go around, see what everybody thinks of this controller, what you think about the design. You can go on PlayStation blog and see the design. It's pretty big. It looks kind of like a weird looking flying saucer with a trailer hitch on the front of it. But for the joystick, but hey, it's not meant for me. It's meant for somebody who has some limited mobility or some other disability. So Nick, what do you think about the Project Leonardo? And do you think the other turtles are jealous?
I think the other turtles are jealous. I'm sure the Foot Clan will probably try to steal the idea. But, this is cool. I mean, Microsoft did this a few years back. They have their accessibility controller that they created a few years back. I don't remember how long ago it was. It was a few years ago, though. And that was a really cool and awesome idea. And I think you can still use that controller on the on the Series X and stuff like that, because they made all that stuff backwards compatible. so it was about time that Sony. I was really kind of surprised that Sony took this long to make something like this, because I figured once Xbox had come out with their accessibility controller, that Sony wouldn't be very far behind in making their own. But it's been a few years now since Xbox came out with theirs, and now Sony's finally going to come out with their own accessibility controller. So, but that's good. You're exactly right. This is just for, this is great for gamers that have accessibility issues, being able to play games not with just a standard controller, but having to use certain less motor functions or whatever the case may be. And I have seen the videos on there of them, working with other developers and stuff to make these like cool looking or weird looking contraptions that just work for them, right? But to be able to, not everybody has that luxury, and not everybody has the money to be able to go out and do something like that. And to be able to have some place like Microsoft and like Sony and hopefully others come out with these controllers that they can use to customize and accessorize, and be able to create their own based off of that's kind of the foundation. Is the controller is kind of the foundation, because it does have auxiliary ports where they can plug in paddles and foot pedals and various things, whatever else into, and Xbox's accessibility controller had the same thing, had the auxiliary ports on the back and stuff that you can plug in additional stuff to. And it looks like the PlayStation Project Leonardo has the same thing. So, they can buy those third-party buttons and paddles and stuff like that to plug into this, and then they can customize the controller. It said it had 3 different controller profiles that they can switch in between. You can also set up any of the buttons to do any function. They were also saying you can set up one button to do 2 functions, right? Which is really cool. So maybe if you press it and then it does one, and hold it down and it does another function or something like that. But yeah, I mean, exactly. We're all gamers, and for us, like you said, the philosophy is everybody should be able to game no matter what, no matter what the circumstance. We want everybody to be able to go out there, play video games, enjoy the games that they play, and be able to play those games however they can play them, right? If they need a special controller or certain extra buttons or whatever, and the gaming industry as a whole has made a lot of strides in including accessibility in video games. You got Xbox has the co-pilot mode. I think Sony has something similar to that. And even God of War had I think it was like the most accessible settings in a game. It had like a crap ton of settings. So it's really good to see all that stuff, because there is a huge gambit of players out there that have different needs, right? People that are colorblind, maybe just a minimal thing such as, well, it's not really minimal, but I mean, such a thing as like just being colorblind. They have modes for that, right? Accessibility to switch on something so that colors are correct. All the way up to not being able to press certain buttons. Now you have things like Project Leonardo and the Xbox accessibility controller that those people can go out and purchase, customize, and then they can play their favorite games without having to, pay someone to come up with some sort of contraption or using a regular controller in a weird way. You've seen those people, I'm sure, online that use a standard Xbox or PlayStation controller, and they just have it set up in a certain way, right, where they can use it. But with these controllers, that makes it, I think it would make it a lot easier to set those things up and utilize them better for these individuals. And as far as this controller goes, yes, it does look like a UFO with a trailer hitch on it. It's a very strange design, as the Xbox accessibility was just a big rectangle. Looked like almost like a DJ board, whereas this one looks like a flying saucer. So it's really, I would like to see, and I didn't see, they have like a little video of them showing it off at CES, but they didn't have one showing its use, being used. And I would like to have seen that, how it's utilized, because they did have one for Xbox when that one came out, and showing off how different gamers using it and how it's used and how all the buttons and stuff. I'm sure they will have some sort of presentation like that here, probably in this year at some point when they get closer to start talking about it more and kind of coming out with this device. I'm also wondering how much it was, because I think the accessibility controller from Xbox was $100, I want to say. So, I'm hoping that Sony with this one, keeps it around that same amount, because they're pretty much the same concepts, right? They pretty much could do the same things and have the same features. Just they're from different. So hopefully they don't try to outprice people or anything like that, right? And they kind of keep it, because I thought the Xbox controller for $100 was actually a pretty good price. I mean, especially for like all the customization options and the buttons and just the whole layout and everything. I was like, that's not bad for all that stuff, right? It came with a lot of things and a lot of customization options, and just it was a really cool looking. Like, I think we talked about it at the time, and it was something that even we, who don't have a need for it, but thought it was pretty cool that even we wouldn't mind like trying one out or owning one just to have and like, play with it and stuff like that. And that goes the same for this one, for the Project Leonardo. I myself wouldn't mind having one just to play around with and see how it works and everything like that. I don't have the Xbox accessibility controller. I have seen it before. I have seen it in the stores. But I just, don't have a need to pick it up. But if I ever did, I would. But the point is, though, this is really cool. It's great to see that. I would like to see other developers. I'd like to see Nintendo come out with something, and maybe some other developers out there, game creators, console creators, maybe Steam or something like that. Logitech and various companies kind of come out with their own kits and stuff, just to give more options, right? For individuals. And PC is a little bit easier because, well, it's PC, but it'd be cool to see other companies kind of put their hat in the ring with more accessibility options, in different controllers and stuff for different things. Because not every controller is going to work for an individual, right? The Project Leonardo and the Xbox accessibility controller might be good for some, but it's not going to be great for everyone. So the more choices people have, the better. But what do you think, Shane?
I think it's cool. It's definitely an interesting looking controller. The buttons, just imagine like a flying saucer with a trailer hits, like Nick said. One of the comments I saw on the Twitter post of the announcement was it's a butt plug for Gran Turismo 7 steering wheel. That was nice. It's I would like to have one just for certain games with those button sizes. Any game that has quick time events where you gotta tap 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 tap, things like that. A button that freaking big is perfect for these things. I like it. I think it's pretty cool that Sony is following suit with what Microsoft put out, and they're gonna, it's just gonna help their base. I mean, people are inventive, people are ingenious. I've seen fathers making their own peripherals for consoles and PC and things like that. For their children. I've seen people beat, all these games using their paraplegics and stuff, quadriplegics, just blowing in a tube. I mean, it's amazing what people can do if they're gung ho to do it, and people help them achieve that. And this is one of those things. So, kid doesn't have to just sit in his chair and stare at a screen all day. He can interact with it, these types of peripherals. It's really cool, really interesting. I've got friends that I got a few family members. One who lost an arm because he was not being smart and fell off a roof. And I've got one cousin who's paralyzed. So things like this are cool. So I'm kind of surprised Sony was so late to the game, because I think Microsoft's came out a couple of years ago or more. And that's just Sony normally would be right there with them. So that's cool. I think it's more interesting the way they've set it up too. Microsoft's just like Nick said, it looked like a DJ pad. look like a couple Series S's with 2 speakers on it. I mean, it's just the way it's set up. But this one here, I think, is more interesting looking because you can see the way the buttons work on it. The Xbox one just looks like 2 pads and a D-pad and a couple little buttons. That's it. So I've never used it, but I think it'd be kind of cool just to have one to play with. So, but I'm happy Sony's doing it, and I'd like to see more people doing things like this. There are groups out there that are dedicated to making stuff like this for people with disabilities. So it's just a happy story.
Yep. And the Xbox One is designed to have peripherals plugged into it. That's why it looks so plain. If you look at the back of it, there is a auxiliary port or a port for like every button. Like you think RB has an auxiliary port that you can plug in a device that you may be able to use. Like Shane was talking about the quadriplegic where you can blow. Microsoft has an attachment for their controller for that, where you can blow into it. It's rather expensive. It's $400. So you're looking at $100 for the controller plus $400 for that. But that's a lot of technology. And I've seen a guy on YouTube who plays with something like that. And I think I've not looked at his setup, but I believe he's quadriplegic, like from the neck down, and he plays games. I watched him play some games on YouTube, and he just has the manipulation with his mouth and his head. So, that is great. Because no longer is he just bound to sit there and watch something or listen to something, or he can interact with this type of stuff. So it's all about increasing, how do I put this? All about increasing one's quality of life, right? If you're quadriplegic and you can't do a whole lot, it's just, and the world doesn't seem to care or want to do something, that sucks, right? But, video games, if that's your passion and you happen to be in a situation where you can't play with a regular controller, it's just great news that game companies are out there trying to help bridge that gap. We see, just like Shane had pointed out, every time a game comes out, there's so many accessibility options in there. I mean, all kinds of ways to help people that are visually impaired, hearing impaired, may not be as quick on the draw with the controller, the old quick time events. I remember some of the accessibility options there and stretching those out to give somebody a little bit more time that may not be, you may not be able to fire off to that triangle, circle, or X or Y button or whatever your controller preference is, because maybe your hands just don't move as fast as they used to, or you got arthritis, or maybe you have worse things in your hands, So great things like this. Great to see things like this. I don't care who the company is, Xbox, Microsoft, Nintendo. If you can make it and you can make it affordable, it's always going to be a welcome addition, and I'm pretty sure the PlayStation fans out there are rejoicing, and those people who wish they could play some of these PlayStation first party games may get the ability to now if they've got some limitations and some accessibility hurdles to get over with this new controller. I'm guarantee you, because I saw I looked at kind of some of the shots of the PlayStation's controller on Twitter, and they've got some external auxiliary ports on theirs as well. So I imagine that you can probably even team 2 of these up, with one on one side of the other and all the buttons, and you can make this one have this certain buttons and the right side do this one. There's going to be some options out there, and as long as they can make it affordable, it's great, and there's other programs out there that will help people with disabilities get a hold of equipment like this, so and good things all around. So I can't wait to see what this thing looks like in action. Like Nick, I wanted to see somebody playing with it, but we'll have to wait. It's still in development mode. It's no release date, no prices, no nothing, but we're getting to see that PlayStation has something in there. And then Shane, the adaptive controller from Xbox was 2018, I think, is when they came out with theirs. So it's been a few years, and Sony, I don't know what what was going on with Sony stuff. I don't know. You would think that a company as big as Sony would have seen the need for some of that stuff, but hey, it's always better late than never. My thought on some of this stuff, at least they're doing something. You guys got any other things you want to chat about on this one, or, anything before we move on out and ready to check it out when it comes out?
No, I don't know what I personally would do if I wasn't physically able to play games anymore. So things like this make me happy because I'm getting older. My hands are, they're not what they used to be. So I may need something like this one day. So keep up the technology.
All right. Let us know what you think down in the comments. Do you know somebody with accessibility hurdles that they have to overcome, and do they play like Xbox and stuff like that? And now how excited are they for this? I mean, it looks cool. Like to try it, see it myself, because it looks cool, and it definitely is going to help out some gamers out there. So let us know what you think down in the comments. And as always, we hope you like this episode, and we hope to catch you in the next one.
See ya.